Hello.
Hey Servet, how's it going? Hoş geldiniz.
Merhabalar. Merhaba.
Nasılsınız?
Teşekkürler. Thank you so much. How
Rica
about
ederim.
you?
Good, good, good. Everything's good. Good to see you. I was waiting for somebody. I think this is maybe it's an odd time for class. People are not that maybe are not that free at this time. So maybe I'll change my schedule. But it's good to see you. How is life in Istanbul'da sonbahar?
Uh, that's normal. Just life. The
Nice,
usual
nice.
routine.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I was talking to my brother, my host brother, I should say, and
Mhm.
he was my host family's son when I was living in Bursa, and talked to him yesterday, and he lives in Michigan. He lives close to where I live, and he was telling me, when are you going to come to Turkey next
Yes.
time? Everybody wants me to visit Bursa again. The group that I knew there. But time is precious. I don't have the luxury to go, and also time and money, both of them. So
Yes.
I need to figure out maybe when I can, and then I can go maybe make another trip. But it'll be fun. I miss
Okay,
it.
nice.
Yeah.
What was the first reason you
The
why you
the
went?
reason I went to Bursa
Yes.
to teach English. Actually, I was there for an internship just to see a different country. I
Mhm.
had um, I had some time after I graduated from college to just
Mhm.
visit a country, and my parents had never visited. My parents had know nothing about Turkey. Nobody in my family had ever been to Turkey, so I decided, why not?
Yeah, that's
So
good. Turkey.
yeah, yeah, it was a great experience. I would never, if anybody had told me at that time, instead of Turkey, go to, I don't know, some other place,
Mhm.
I would, I mean, looking back on it now, it was the best decision I made to actually go to Turkey. I was unsure when I was going because I heard a lot of people in Bursa, for example, don't speak English.
Mhm.
So I was wondering what would be the situation, me not speaking Turkish, them not speaking English,
Yeah.
what would be the communication strategy, but it worked out. It worked out.
Oh, that's nice. Glad to hear that you are happy about this experience.
Yeah, fantastic experience. Never ever would I would never trade it for the world, like they say in English.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
So, and you're from Istanbul, like originally, right? I think Sarah already said before, or
Yes.
okay, born and raised in Istanbul.
Yes, actually, they say your family may be coming from somewhere else, but in Istanbul is a kind of a place where everybody gets together, but actually you never know who is originally from this place, but you see here this place and you say I'm from here, and that's it.
Yeah, Istanbul is kind of like a melting pot, definitely. You can
Yes.
you can find Turkish people from every part of Turkey living in Istanbul. Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't visited Ankara yet. I've only just been to Bursa and Istanbul, but
Mhm.
I want to visit Ankara as well. Also the south, so like Antalya, the west, Izmir, maybe the east, Gaziantep. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, Sarah. We'll see. But uh, do you have any travel plans coming up for yourself? Are you going to be going anywhere?
No, for now, I think I don't have enough time and money to spare it for a vacation.
Uh-huh.
So I pretty much have to keep this routine for a while,
Nice.
and we'll see in the
Yeah.
future.
No, absolutely. That's great. I know my host family, they also travel within Turkey. They do a lot of traveling inside Turkey. They usually go to Izmir. I think they have family in Izmir or something like that. So they always visit the different cities. I mean, Turkey is a large enough country with enough variation that you don't really need to, if you want a different climate, for example, you can
Yeah.
go you can stay in the same country and stay, and go experience a completely different place.
Yes, actually, but that's true. In Turkish culture, I guess most of the people prefer traveling within the country if they are going to travel. Traveling abroad is not really common here. It's because maybe the country is large and people are so busy. You never get to see the whole country. Then you feel like, okay, I finished my country, then I will go to a different place to
Yeah,
experience. And probably language is also another language and visa, other things are also other kind of problems that make people prefer traveling within the country.
yeah,
Most
no, that
people
makes
don't
sense.
speak second language, so it's a bit.
Yeah. No, sir, I absolutely agree. And what that was actually, for me, it was surprising to a certain extent that outside of the main tourist areas in Istanbul and the main
Mhm,
like financial areas, common people don't really know another language that well.
yeah,
Maybe they know certain words, but they don't have a command over another language. Which it was interesting for me because I think I operated out of a post-colonial mindset, right? Because like my parents, being from Bangladesh and India,
mhm,
Bangladesh, Pakistan, all of those countries, because they were colonized, I think English has become so established in those countries. Um,
yes,
Turkey, on the other hand, was not colonized, so and with nationalism, the Turkish language was considered the most important thing to unify the country, or one of the most unifying forces for the country was the language. So, and then as I explored more and talked to more, young people, talked to people in my host family, I realized that that's probably the reason that now there's a resurgence in learning foreign languages because of the increasingly global economy and people want
mhm,
to be, globalized, citizens. But yeah, like I remember I was walking around and just like Tophané is a part of Bursa that's like
mhm,
more historic area, yeah. And I had a little book with me, like a little dictionary, Sözlük, right?
yes,
And that Sözlük like saved my life. Like I sometimes I had no idea what I wanted to say, but it had phrases at the end like, you know, affedersiniz, like, basic words like that
yes,
that, if I didn't know words like that, I would be completely lost in Bursa, in places like Tophane especially.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's difficult when you don't know the language and they also don't know the language.
it is. It
The
is.
dictionary, like I guess, with little useful phrases can save
Yeah,
your life at this day.
useful phrases were great. And like the last time I went to Istanbul, when I was there in August
Mhm,
of this year, they were very like I was more fluent than the first time I went, 2 years ago. So people were saying like I asked a taxi driver a question, and it was getting complicated. So I said, "Do you speak English?" And he said, "Well, you speak Turkish. Why should I know English?" So it was really funny. Uh, and then my sister also went to Turkey last year, or no, 2 years ago, I think, a few months after I went there. And I told her everything she needed to know. And she was traveling with two other girls.
mhm,
So they were three young girls from Muslim backgrounds. So they were all Muslim girls, right?
mhm,
Uh, some of them wear the scarf, but like my sister doesn't wear the scarf. So
yeah.
when people saw them in the street, some like old people actually came up to them and asked them like many times, like, "Are you guys lost? Do you guys need help with something?" I think it was unusual for them to see young Muslim girls traveling alone, you know? Like there was no father figure, there was no husband or male or brother figure, just three girls walking around. So they were they attracted a lot of positive attention by doing that,
Mm,
So it was kind of fun for them. And then she speaks it pretty well too. I told her like what to say, what how to ask for things and how to navigate the society, and they loved it. I mean, I think going to all the jamis and stuff also was interesting for
yes,
them because of the history and then all the museums and things like that. So it's a great culture, Sarah. Great culture. Yeah.
yes, but it's a good. it's good that you can experience different cultures and experience a different environment, different people. It's a good experience, I think, to be in different cultures and get to learn about these things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, Sarabeth. Well, seems like no one else is going to be joining us, so let's get started. Today, we're going to be learning about possessive pronouns. We're going to be reviewing how we use possessive pronouns, and at the same time, we are going to be looking at afterwards. Actually, we're going to be looking at hand sanitizer, and hand sanitizer is really everywhere in U.S. society.
Mhm.
Little you can walk down the hallway in a school or in an office and you'll see a little dispenser for soap and things like that. Or not for soap, but for this hand sanitizer. And it's a little bit more, people are unsure if hand sanitizer is really as necessary and if it could even be toxic. It could actually be harmful
Mhm.
to us. So we'll take a look at that. Um, Question for you though, Sarah, though, just to get us thinking. Uh, how often do you use hand sanitizer, or how often do you know, run across hand sanitizer in the street or in maybe like schools and other kind of public buildings?
I see them in public buildings and like hospitals, they have it. Maybe in some schools they might have it. Uh, some people give those things to their children while they go to school because schools can be pretty dirty and lots of
Yeah,
children. Not everybody is touching everywhere.
exactly, exactly. And yeah, those are very common here too. Kids get their little, maybe a little packet or
Mhm.
like a carrying case that their moms give it to them. Yeah, and I think it's similar here, but like my culture, like when I grew up and stuff, like my parents would just say, always wash your hands with soap, warm water, like before
Mhm.
you eat, before you go up, but after you come out from the outside, like playing or whatever. But like in the mid 90s, like early to mid 90s when I was growing up, hand sanitizer wasn't really around that much. And, people were just hygienic. People were,
Mhm.
I mean, they were clean. They just didn't carry the stuff everywhere with them. It was more of a specialized thing. So, yeah, I think Turkey is kind of the same thing, right? Hospitals here as well, always you see hand sanitizer everywhere. Some schools, definitely, like elementary schools, kindergartens, nurseries, they have a lot of that stuff. High schools and stuff, not so much. Uh, so, yeah, I think that's very similar. The So looking at possessive pronouns quickly, let's do a quick review and then we'll get into some of the more specifics. So there are really three categories, I should say, that possessive pronouns are based on, right? So when we look at what is a possessive pronoun, right? A possessive pronouns are those pronouns that are used that are that are used to indicate possession, and they always follow the noun that is being possessed, right? That's what's interesting between possessive pronouns and possessive adjectives, because sometimes folks get them confused. Possessive adjectives come before the noun, and possessive pronouns always come after the noun. So, for example, I could say this car is mine, right? This car is mine. So mine would be the possessive pronoun for I, right? What about for you, Sarabeth? Let's go through the list if you don't mind. So mine is for I. What about for you?
Yours,
Yours, and then he, she, it would be
his, hers, its,
fantastic. And then for we
ours,
and then
yours again, and theirs.
fantastic, fantastic. So you have this down 100%, right? So possessive pronouns we use, there are those three categories. We can look at the gender. In this example, if it's a male, then we use his. If it's female, we use hers. And if it's no gender, then we can use, you know, I guess you can say its, but we don't really use its. It might actually not exist. Its is a possessive adjective, but it's really not a possessive pronoun, right? Because you really can't say this dog or this phone is it or this house is its for like an animal. It's its house, right? Or this is its house. It's actually, so let's actually not think about it's one for possessive pronouns, but for the other stuff, definitely, right? So gender, we definitely have as a possibility first person, second person, or third person, right? Mine would be first person, ours would be first person, um, second person would be yours and yours, and third person would be theirs and his, hers, that kind of stuff, right? And then last but not least, if it's singular or plural, right? So really that dichotomy, that division happens when we see ours and theirs. Those are the plural ones, as well as the yours that is plural. So overall, we can look at those specifics, but they're not really super important. The more important concept is that we know the list: mine, yours, his, hers, ours, yours, and theirs. So let me also make a note, not its. We actually don't use its. So any questions on how we make those or how those are used, Sarah?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, great. I
I
think it's an easier class, right? Yeah.
I have taken classes about this before.
Nice,
I'm
nice.
pretty familiar.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, that's great. We can spend more time on the actual conversation then also. But and then the last kind of concept that I wanted to mention was that possessive pronouns can be the subject of a sentence or they can be the object of a sentence, right? It doesn't really matter how you use them. So let's say you go to a party and you're complimenting the host on the food that was made, right? You could say, yours was the most delicious. Yours was the most delicious, right? You're not saying what it was, you're just saying, you're talking about food, you're at the table. Yours is the most delicious, right? In that case, yours is the subject. However, we can also make yours the object if, the most delicious one was yours, right? The most delicious one was yours. So we can use them in any combination, really. The key is that when we use a pronoun, it has to be after the noun. That's really what allows us to use it. And if there is no noun, then it can be the first word in the sentence. For example, yours was the best, right? Um, the other thing I wanted to mention was, so the kind of opposite to possessive pronouns are possessive adjectives, in that they really mean the same thing. They can both be used to show possession, but with adjectives, they come before the noun. So, her house is blue. You know, the blue house is hers. No, her house is blue, right? So adjective is her,
Hmm.
and the pronoun is hers, right? That's actually the one that's predominantly different. Uh, any questions on that stuff, Sarabeth?
No, no
Okay,
questions.
great. Do you mind giving me an example then of any sentence you would like with a possessive pronoun?
Okay, let's say we are on the streets and we see some cars. There are, if you there are five cars, and the blue Porsche is yours, the red one is mine.
Uh-huh. And what about the other three? Yeah, it's okay. I'm just joking. We only need to talk about two of them, right? There are five of them. Yellow one is yours. The red one is mine, right? Fantastic, fantastic. That's how we use it. Maybe the blue one is, Mehmet's. The orange one is Alican's,
Yes.
and I'm using all these Turkish names, but now the green one is, Zeynep's, whatever, right? Great, great, great. So yeah, you definitely understand this very well, Servet. Let's move on to then the article. We'll have a good amount of time to talk about it and kind of discuss what happens. It's a new trend in healthcare, right? I think we get very attached to our own feelings of security, our own misconceptions sometimes that more is better or more is good, and sometimes we can stick to the classics of hygiene and sanitation and health. So we'll see. What is all this debate about hand sanitizer possibly being toxic? So it's a CNN article, which I'm not really always a fan of, but I think this time they did a relatively good job with this article. And here is the link. I'm gonna screen share as well quickly so that we can see what's happening. Is hand sanitizer toxic, right? And this, I think, is more of a feature because it's flu season now, so everyone is getting colds and sneezing and coughing all the time. So is hand sanitizer toxic? They're not a cure-all, but if you can't wash your hands, a squirt of an alcohol-based hand gel is okay, one expert says. Okay, let's start here. You squirt it on your hands as you catch the office elevator for lunch, and then again on your way home. You have bottles in your bathroom and kitchen too, and you use them often. You hope, that your hand sanitizer habit is protecting you from colds and flu and gross bugaboos like E. coli. But even if it isn't, it's harmless, right? The rumor, hand sanitizer is not only ineffective, it's toxic. So this is a rumor, right? Word on the street has it that despite how clean your hands feel after using a hand sanitizer, they're actually still dirty, and using sanitizers might actually lower your resistance to disease. Is it true? The verdict: soap and water beats sanitizers hands down. There's no debate. Soap and water beats sanitizers. When it comes to safety and effectiveness, the main concern with hand sanitizers is triclosan, which is the main antibacterial ingredient in non-alcoholic hand sanitizers. There's no good evidence that triclosan-containing products have a benefit, said Alison Aiello, associate professor of epidemiology at the University of Michigan. In Europe and the United States, hospitals won't even use them, she notes. It's thought that they don't reduce infections or illness. Dr. Anna Bowen, a medical epidemiologist at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, says triclosan containing products don't provide any disease protection beyond what you get from washing with soap and water. Research has shown that triclosan can disrupt the endocrine system, amplifying testosterone. In animal studies, it reduced muscle strength. It may also harm the immune system. Whether these findings add up to human toxicity isn't established yet, but the FDA, this is the Food and Drug Administration, is currently reviewing the issue, right? A more established concern: when you expose bacteria to triclosan, it can elicit antibiotic resistance, says Aiello. Once the resistance is transferred, pathogenic bacteria can become resistant to many types of antibiotics. Quaternary ammonium, another antibacterial found in non-alcoholic hand sanitizers, has also been shown to elicit antibiotic resistance, she says, right? The main concern with triclosan, however, is that it doesn't protect against viruses or fungi, right? So a couple of different things happening here. We have antibiotic resistance as something that's coming up.
Mhm.
We see quaternary ammonium has been used to elicit antibiotic resistance. So this ammonium, which is found in non-alcoholic hand sanitizers, can also cause antibiotic resistance. And we see another thing with triclosan is that it doesn't really protect against viruses or fungi. So colds are caused by viruses, not bacteria. So really, this triclosan stuff isn't protecting. Anyway, bottom line, skip it, right? Alcohol-based sanitizers, on the other hand, are fairly effective and safe. Hand sanitizers that are 60% alcohol are good at killing bacterial pathogens, says Bowen. They can also kill some viruses, but not all of them, such as the noroviruses that can cause cruise ship outbreaks. So I think a few months ago, maybe even a few years ago, there was a debate about, or there were some of these really bad viruses that people were getting on these cruise ships when they went on cruises on different countries, and that's the problem because is this even really helping? And it seems like alcohol sanitizers don't do a good job with noroviruses, but they do help with some viruses. They're not panacea, but if you can't wash your hands, a squirt of an alcohol-based hand gel is a good idea. So I guess that's what they're saying. The non-alcoholic based stuff is not helpful at all, but the alcohol stuff can help you if you have no other alternative. Uh, One caveat though, they don't work on visible dirty hands. The alcohol can't get past the dirt, right? And that brings us back to soap and water, which is both safe and effective. Try to suds up after you use the toilet and before you prepare food. Studies show that doing so can drastically reduce the risk of diarrhea. Hand washing campaigns reduce absenteeism in schools, says Bowen, and that means parents miss fewer days of work too. To see these effects, though, you have to wash your hands correctly. You need to wash for about 24 seconds to remove the bacteria and viruses from your hands, says Aiello. Most people don't wash their hands properly. You need to cover all parts of your hands, including under your nails, and then dry your hands well. How long is 24 seconds? As long as it takes to sing the happy birthday song 2 times through. So feel free to do that as you suds up, right? So interesting commentary, Servet. I think it's really one of these things where classical, you know, methodology and what we've known as long as I've been alive, and I think everybody in my generation and people older, just stick to the classics, man. What is all this buying extra sanitizer, right? I mean, uh, what's your reaction to this, Servet? What do you think about this?
I think one another thing, some kind of viruses, bacteria can travel through air as well. They don't travel through objects, stable objects that they don't move. So even if you use these things, it won't prevent you from getting sick. But they are pretty
Yeah.
much about your immune system, having a strong immune system, then you can this way protect yourself. I guess this hand sanitizers are more about feeling clean, not
Mm-hmm.
about preventing you from disease, maybe getting rid of some little bacteria that you don't see, maybe that are not even effective, but when you touch somewhere you feel it is dirty, maybe someone else touched that when you go to toilet
Mm-hmm.
or when you go to a loo and you put the tap, you touch the tap and you feel that it is not clean, you use a hand sanitizer. It's not because it will make you sick, it will make you relax mentally.
Absolutely, absolutely. Psychologically, we believe in a lot of these things, right? I think the psychological impact is maybe sometimes more critical than the real physical impact, right? Um, Absolutely, I 100% agree. But Sarah, I do think there are some advantages to carrying this alcohol-based sanitizer. The non-alcoholic stuff is completely useless from what we can tell in this article, right?
Yeah.
But with the
Yes.
alcohol stuff, what's maybe one place where using or having the alcohol sanitizer with you would be a really good idea, or one particular type of thing.
Well, I
This
think
is what I'm thinking. Go ahead, Sarah. Yeah. Sorry.
when we are on the go, I think they are useful. If we are on the go and we don't have access to soap and water, they are useful obviously. Specifically, the ones with alcohol might help you. I mean, when you're in public places, you touch everywhere, and if you need to eat after touching these places, you can use the sanitizers.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking like a bus or a plane, so exactly when you're on the go somewhere, right? Because I've been on planes before when I feel like I need to wash my hands when I'm traveling, and even sitting on a plane for like 7 hours, my face feels really, really dry and my hands feel dry. You need that like moisture on your skin to help you refresh, right? Some people use the moisturizers actually. So instead of using the sanitizers, people carry like lotion or other things to hand creams and things like that. Um, that would be one place definitely I think that we could use that. Um, yeah, go ahead, Sarah. Maybe you wanted to mention something else.
No, no, I don't. I also heard that this hand sanitizers make your hand dry a little bit on the one
Yeah,
hand.
I think it's possible. I think it's definitely something that happens because what happens to me is I've used sanitizers before, Like maybe I was at the airport or something and I needed to just, I thought I touched something dirty, so I just quickly grabbed some sanitizer. And after I applied it, I, the first time I saw a bathroom, I still went into the bathroom,
Hmm.
right? It was like that intermediate step of, okay, I can't find a bathroom. I don't know where the nearest bathroom is. I kind of feel a little, my hands might be a little dirty. So this is like a temporary relief until I can find a bathroom.
Yes.
You know, nothing beats hot water and soap, I think. I,
Yeah.
right? I think that sensation is really something different that these other groups are trying to emulate. But um, how much money do you think, sorry, that these hand sanitizer companies are making off of the public?
Mm. I don't know. I haven't bought any hand sanitizers. They once given, I guess, some hand sanitizers as a promotion. Uh, my brother took it to school with him.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I never used them and never paid money for this hand sanitizers. When I go, I I I have used hand sanitizers in public places a few times.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I generally also use soup and water.
Hmm.
So, but furthermore, I think these products are easy to make because they don't cost much money. So I
Yeah.
think I can think that the margins are uh, higher than other products, maybe
Hmm.
because of
Hmm.
the cost.
Yeah, it's probably not that expensive to make, right? I just found something interesting on another website. The operate Occupational Health and Safety Department is it's a very kind of respected journal, not journal, but it's a respected like group in the United States when it comes to workplace safety and things like
Mhm.
that. And they are saying that the hand sanitizers market will exceed $402 million by 2015. So if we can believe this statistic, I would say that it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars now in 2013. And there are a bunch of maybe industries that are you know that are working on this. And it's interesting because they're saying that this evolution actually began in the 1980s, and that other kinds of threats like SARS and avian flu, H1N1, swine flu, these kind of outbreaks of illnesses caused a surge in the demand for hand sanitizers, and that this growth is now there's an interesting statistic here that says growth was also propelled by the findings that gastrointestinal illnesses are reduced by about 60% in households that use hand sanitizers compared to non-users. So it's a report from, I mean, I don't know I mean, relevant or believable this statistic is, but they are making a decent amount of money, right? And
Mhm.
I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars is no joke. So they are adding to the healthcare network of products that we do have available in the U.S. So I think it's honestly, I looking at the hand sanitizer market. I mean, besides an accessory like a travel
Mhm.
accessory,
Yes.
I don't really know why someone would buy that stuff. Honestly, maybe because if people maybe who have kids, young children might buy it more than like someone like me. I don't know, honestly, why it would be such a good thing or why it's such a large industry, I think. The So the other question I wanted to ask you, Sarabeth, was, here we see kind of this fascination with something that is marketed and produced with a label that it helps you, right? Uh, I think a lot of its appeal comes from the fact that people think it can't hurt, right?
Hmm.
It might not
Yes.
be beneficial, or it might not be beneficial, but it's also not harmful, right?
Mhm.
Are there instances when something too much of something could be bad for you? Maybe outside of this hand sanitizer context, what's maybe another time when too much of something is bad?
I think in this context, uh, maybe they may not contain toxic ingredients and they may not be harmful, but when you start believing that they will help you and you will probably replace soap and water or other products with this product, then it will be a problem because pretty much they won't be as effective as other products like soap and water. And so when you replace it, then you have the problem there.
Yeah,
First of all, when you use soap and water, dirt gets off your hand, but when you use hand sanitizers, they are still on your hand. Nothing is getting off your hand.
exactly.
If it has the power to kill the bacteria, okay, it kills, but everything is still on your hands. If
Hmm.
something is dirty, if there's some kind of things, it doesn't have to get rid of this parts, maybe particular, this visible particles will stay in your hand.
Yeah.
Another
Uh,
thing, I guess, this rinse, uh,
mhm.
water wash things, they also claim that they kill the bacteria in your mouth, but actually they cannot replace the brushing your teeth. So if you think this is enough, but actually they are not enough. So if we replace brushing teeth with this mouthwash, then it might be harmful.
Absolutely. I really like how you use that example, and I wouldn't even think of that example, but it's very similar to what we see with this hand sanitizer issue, right? I mean,
Yes.
we have the traditional, parents have been telling children for decades, and, you know, as long as we've had modern medicine, brush your teeth, wash your hands, right? Comb your hair. I mean, other things that parents tell their kids, right? And now we have all of these gimmicks, all of these, like, things that just add to our mental cholesterol, I like to say. When I go outside and I see ads for everything under the sun, I'll sell you this, I'll buy for this from you, I'll sell you this, and emails and junk mail and all the stuff we get, right? Consumer culture today, so much mental cholesterol. But not only that, but mouthwash, the mouthwash industry, I would love to know how much money they're making. I mean,
Yeah.
even dentists say that mouthwash is a supplement to your basic hygiene, right?
Mhm.
If you want to, if you want your breath to smell really fresh and have that extra level of being pleasant and having good teeth and good, gum hygiene, oral hygiene, then yeah, you can buy mouthwash. But definitely it's not a substitute for brushing your teeth. I mean, brushing your teeth is basic, right? What about floss? Do you think floss is necessary, Servant, or is that also an accessory?
They also, I mean, dentists suggest that floss is so necessary, and even brushing your teeth cannot replace flossing. So they consider flossing to be maybe more important than brushing your teeth.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I mean, I think brushing your teeth and flossing together are amazing if you can do both. And if you add mouthwash, then that's like the triple crown. You're all set, right? No one can say anything about you. But at the bare minimum, at least brush your teeth, right? I
Yeah.
mean, because people might not notice like particles in your teeth that are between your teeth that floss can get. But if your teeth are yellow, people will definitely notice. You
Yeah.
know, so it's almost like we have to prioritize, right? What is important for
Mhm.
us? What is not important for us? But you bring up such a good point, Sarah. I'm really happy you brought up mouthwash because I would have never thought of that as a parallel example of hygiene and
Mhm.
how we sometimes go overboard. Um, but this trend, Sarah, of like having these products available to us and all of this research, right? Everywhere you look now, they're doing research on something, right? Some university, some scientist, some doctor, some specialist, they're doing research. That's all they seem to be doing. And they're coming up with,
Yeah.
you always thought this, but now we think this. You always thought that, but now we think this, right?
Mhm.
Are we becoming an over medicated society that's just so easy? Are we that dumb as a society, like as people, that we look at one thing and we immediately buy it, or we're more unaware of of that critical aspect of thinking? Are we just open to anything these days? Are we really that over medicated, over dependent, or do you think these are just specific examples and we're not always that naive about things?
I think in this like a consumer age we are in a consuming age, and we like to consume. At this time, I guess the marketing experts know people's needs. So when they try to market their products, they market in a good way that it looks so convenient to people. Hand sanitizers, you see, they may be represented in a way where there is a kind of outbreak, and they say, okay, we have out. If you want to protect yourself or your child, get our hand sanitizer. This will protect you. But and it becomes a habit, but after maybe 2 years, then you get to know that they are not that effective. Actually, soup and water was more effective. You get to see, but after until you learn this, the company has gotten rich enough. Uh, they have made enough money to. They made their product. They have gotten what they needed to get.
Yeah, they made their products,
Mm.
a very kind of profitable thing to do, right? Yeah, they made their
Yeah,
profits by the time you realize what's going on.
yeah, and obviously they emphasize their products' positives, pros, not the negatives, negative parts. It looks convenient, and they market it very well. People buy it. It is also because of like consumer age. We like to buy. It also comes with wealth. The more economically free you are, you try more products. You don't. In some
Yeah,
cultures, it's not that common because people have their essential needs, and people don't even get to buy their essential needs, so they cannot spare money to other things. If the market is big, if their disposable income enough, well, people try. If it's not bad, it's not harmful. This is the logic, like you mentioned. People try.
people buy and try. Absolutely, right? Why not? That's the question, right? Why not? Everybody else is doing it. Look at the hospitals and look at the marketing. Look at people say it helps your skin. People say it feels nice after you put it on your hand, right?
Mhm.
I mean, why not, right? But who can afford that stuff? Exactly the people you said, the ones with disposable income, right?
Yeah.
If they have the disposable income, if you're not buying soap and buying hand sanitizer, there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
But if you can afford soap and you have water, obviously everyone has water. Most people, I should say, not everybody. Some people may not if they're not in a modern house or something. But if you have access to soap, and then on top of that you are buying water or buying hand sanitizer, then okay, it works. I can understand your point of view. But if you are just going with something that is market it effectively and ignoring the basics, then there's a problem. Absolutely.
Yeah. And on the other hand, we actually don't know what is dirty, what is not dirty, or how much bacteria is acceptable, how much is not acceptable. I mean, for our immune system, we need bacteria. Our immune system needs to receive bacteria from other people as well. When we even be in the same environment, through breathing, we get bacteria from other people. We don't actually have an environment completely bacteria free. And when we do when we feel dirty is when we feel something gross. If we don't feel something is gross, we don't feel dirty. But when we look, then everywhere contains lots of bacteria, viruses. Cell phones, for example, we think when we touch our own cell phone, we don't feel like we need to wash our hands. But actually, according to researchers, like remote control cell phones contain more bacteria or viruses than toilets. So, but when we go to the toilet, we wash our hands, but when we touch our cell phone, we don't feel it. That. And some bacteria are also good for us. So, it is a kind of a really thin line that what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, when we need to uh, these sanitizers or these hygiene products when they are acceptable. On when we ignore this, I mean, people in modern society is becoming even more susceptible to illnesses. People living in less modern lives, more traditional lives are more healthy and maybe stronger, healthier, stronger. So I think we need to learn how much hygiene we need and how much of it is acceptable, what bacteria are not bad for us. Actually, what is instead of like just feeling gross or just feeling, I don't know.
Yeah, no, fantastic, Sarah. That was amazing, amazing. Everything you said was really, really good. They Everything, yeah. I mean, if you know that they did when I was in high school, we did an experiment where the teacher said, take a swab, a cotton swab, and put it over your forehead, and then put it in the petri dish. Take another one, put it on your arm, then put it on a petri dish, and then take another one. I think it was behind your ear, and put it in the petri dish, right? Some people are naturally very oily, they have a lot of their oil, or the oil from their skin or the sweat glands. They sweat and they have moisture on their hands just normally. Uh, I think Indian people are in that category because we're from a warmer country. I think genetically we sweat more than people from other countries. So uh, we did this study, and the amount of bacteria that we got from just one swab on our arm was more than the ones from the forehead, more than the ones from behind the ear. It was ridiculous. The surface of our skin and our body, we are living amongst bacteria, millions and billions of individual bacteria cells, right? I mean, it's just naturally they're not harming us because like my body is in symbiosis with them, right? They are in symbiotic harmony. We say in English. I'm sure you know this word, Sarah. You seem to be very scientifically knowledgeable. If it is symbiotic relationship, means that the bacteria doesn't harm me. It lives on my skin, and my skin doesn't care.
Yes.
You know. So, I mean, when we use these hand sanitizers and these other methods of cleaning us without knowing the difference between good and bad bacteria, just like you were saying, we might be causing more harm, right? Because what if we're using bacteria that's killing this good bacteria, right? Then the bad bacteria can maybe step in, you know? And if they're already resistant, then that might make us more susceptible to keeping. Whereas before I had good bacteria that wasn't giving me any problems, I was just using soap and water. Now the good bacteria is dead. I have bad bacteria that is giving me a cold that takes me 2 weeks to recover from. Exactly, exactly. So it's what do you think the challenge is there, Sarah? Do people just need to be educated more? I mean, should it be less marketing and more education, or the marketing should stay and we should just be more smart about what we buy, or what's the solution, or what's a possible solution to this?
I think it's because of our modern life. First of all, we are in public. Obviously, you get to be in everywhere. Obviously, you don't feel everything is dirty. But on the other hand, this also sometimes can be more extreme. We can be too fussy. Oh, this is too dirty. This is too fancy people. We are becoming too fancy people. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of people coming from nature is not that harmful. So we,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be that cautious about bacteria or other thing. I mean, if something is gross, obviously you should clean it. If there's something big, particularly uh, visible dirt, obviously you shouldn't eat it and clean your hands. If you get sweaty, obviously you should take a shower.
Hmm.
But I think we are becoming so fancy and we need to be 100% maybe bacteria free. On the other hand, marketing is also so effective. They
Hmm.
know how to introduce or when to introduce their products so that people will need this product actually. It won't become an luxurious need. If you will feel that this is essential need, is represented this way. And we don't really know about our biology as well as individuals. How much hygiene do we need? What product? How much protection do we need? I mean, do we need mm, do we need to clean our vegetables with water or with vinegar? What do we need? So they
Hmm.
introduce you something, you believe that since they are professionals, we are just individuals. We are knowledge is limited.
Hmm.
So we believe them, we buy it.
Hmm.
Of
I
course, they
agree.
also don't know. They are just researchers.
Yeah.
Maybe for a while, for this time, something might be the solution, but after a while, we notice that actually we are causing harm, more harm than uh, help.
Exactly. Or yeah, we're doing more harm than good, right? There could actually be different types of ways that we are harming ourselves instead of helping ourselves. Absolutely. There's, yeah, I mean, when I look at the when I look at society, we have so much access to so much stuff, right? It's great. I mean, I would never live in another time period. I think this is the best time period. Everything is so accessible. We are so knowledgeable. Things are so things are within our reach and ability for most people living in middle class
Yes,
societies across the world. But I really liked what you mentioned about the traditional society, right? Because it's only what in the past maybe 100 to 150 years that people are living in the cities in close proximity in public life, with the urban mentality that we have now. For thousands of years, and even today in the traditional parts of the world, they probably have better health than all of us. I mean,
yes,
they have the open air, pollution free environment. They have natural bacteria, natural stimuli in their environments. They're eating the best, organic food that we don't even have access to. They're like, it was funny, Sarah, one of my friends, the same guy, the same my brother from Turkey, he was saying that a lot of the beef in Turkey is now hormonal, or
yeah.
maybe there's a market now that is half hormonal, and you can find hormonal beef and also organic beef. Is that the case in Turkey?
I guess they mentioned chickens, but they don't mention beef yet. Maybe they are
Uh,
also.
okay.
They don't. At least they don't say it on TV, but they mention about chicken a lot.
Uh-huh. So he was saying, to find the traditional, like he told me, you want to try like real kebab, you have to go into like the villages.
Yeah,
Right? He said if you go to like a smaller community in like a more rural part of Turkey, that's where you'll find the most amazing food. Like you're not gonna find it in some cafe in like Istiklal Caddesi, it's gotta be
yeah,
like you gotta find it in where it's really the source of the meat itself, right? And I think he's absolutely right. I mean, we are insulated because we think we are in a modern society and we have all the modern access, but we might not be in as good health and in as favorable circumstances as people that don't have the computers and the Wi-Fi and stuff like that,
yeah.
So I
I
agree.
think the key part is scientific researchers or modern life shouldn't be separated from natural things, shouldn't be synthetic. We shouldn't prefer synthetic things over natural things. I think that researchers also should focus on this part, making products more naturally uh, grown products or other things aside from synthetic things, because obviously in the nature everything is the best. But
Hmm.
when you try to make it synthetic, maybe you are producing more or you are getting some benefits, uh, but you are taken away from it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Servant. I think that was great. Got learned a lot. The mouthwash thing is still in my head, man. That was such a good analogy, right? I have mouthwash in my bathroom that I use every once in a while, but I would have never thought the mouthwash thing is such in such a similar sense. They should do a study on that. Honestly, I say they grab a bunch of dentists and they
Mhm.
grab a bunch of like patients. Just do a study. Does mouthwash actually help? They have non-alcoholic mouthwash. They have alcoholic mouthwash, right? The other thing that was fascinating here is if you get pulled over by the cops, like on the
Mhm.
street, and if you recently used non-alcoholic mouthwash and they do the breathalyzer test,
Yes.
you might actually test positive for alcohol, right? So now they have this non-alcoholic mouthwash that they use all the time, or a lot of young people use it because we
Mhm.
drive we drive crazy anyway, and the last thing you want is the police to think that you are driving crazy and you have alcohol in your system,
Yeah.
you know. So I think that would be an amazing study. What are the differences between those two types of mouthwash, and do they actually add anything more to your oral health than regular brushing your teeth and flossing?
Mhm.
I think that's great. You should do that study, Sarah. What's your background, if you don't mind me asking? Did you study science when you were in college?
No, I don't have a university degree yet, so I don't. My knowledge is just reading things. I am not an expert, just a
Yeah,
classical education or articles that you listen or find on
that's
internet
awesome.
sources, other things.
This self-taught knowledge is amazing because I thought you were a doctor or something.
No, you should be
Yeah.
the doctor.
No, no, I don't know anything. But it was really, really fun, Sarah, talking to you. I really appreciate the conversation. Uh,
Yeah.
Did you have any questions about the pronouns we looked at earlier? I think you understand that very well. Or about the two articles, the questions about sanitization and modern health, anything like that?
No, I don't have questions. I've taken enough
Okay,
from
awesome,
you.
Sarah. I appreciate it very much. I hope to see you soon,
Yes, thank you.
Another great conversation. Yeah.
Have a good day,
Okay.
hopefully.
Take care, Sarah.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey
Eh,
Servet, how's it going? Hoş geldiniz.
Merhabalar. Merhaba.
Nasılsınız?
Teşekkürler. Thank you so much. How
Rica
about
ederim.
you?
Good, good, good. Everything's good. Good to see you. I was waiting for somebody. I think this is a maybe it's an odd time for class. People are not that maybe are not that free at this time. So maybe I'll change my schedule. But it's good to see you. How is life in Istanbul'da sonbahar?
Uh, that's normal. Just life. The
Nice,
usual
nice.
routine.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I was talking to my brother, my host brother, I should say, and
Mhm.
he was my host family's son when I was living in Bursa, and talked to him yesterday, and he lives in Michigan. He lives close to where I live, and he was telling me, when are you going to come to Turkey next
Yes.
time? Everybody wants me to visit Bursa again. All of the group that I knew there. But time is precious. I don't have the luxury to go, and also time and money, both of them. So
Yes.
I need to figure out maybe when I can, and then I can go maybe make another trip. But it'll be fun. I miss
Yeah,
it.
nice.
Yeah.
What was the first reason
The
why you
the
went?
reason I went to Bursa
Yes.
to teach English. Actually, I was there for an internship just to see a different country. I
Mhm.
had um, I had some time after I graduated from college to just
Mhm.
visit a country, and my parents had never visited. My parents had know nothing about Turkey. Nobody in my family had ever been to Turkey, so I decided, why not?
Yeah, let's
So
go to Turkey.
yeah, yeah.